This
instructor.
conference will now be recorded.
Before we start with the discussion, little bit about me. I bag around 14 years of experience across different levels of administration and architecting and solutioning the services on specifically the infrastructure services on Azure and Citrix. So that is my technical background. I'm a full-time trainer. I did work for IBM till last 6 months. Now I choose myself to be a full-time trainer. So the course that what my understanding is, you are looking for Azure administration, which is aligned with a certification called AZ-104. Okay. Now, I just want to hear from you guys what is that you're working on currently, and what is your expectation for this course?
Vijay, we are working as an application support as L3 support team
Okay.
under Microsoft projects.
Okay. Okay.
The same with the Vijay, Ravitej
Ravi as
also.
well. Okay.
We both are in the same team.
Okay. So a couple of things here, Rama. Okay. So there are certain prerequisites when it comes to this course. Okay. So the prerequisites would be understanding little bit on the server administration, but at least the operating system installation, and then what is IP address and those things. That is the prerequisite. Okay. And other than that, the other prerequisite would be exposure to the networking related stuff. Even if you don't have exposure to that, then that's okay, but at least we should have some understanding what server is, what operating system is, what IP address is, what storage is, right, what active directories. This is something that which is needed as a prerequisite. Okay. So the question now is, do you guys got any knowledge on these things, or because you said you are more into app support, I'm just trying to understand what is your understanding on these areas.
Uh, so Vijay, 4 years back, I worked on the deployment team, build and deployment, where I have an creating of VMs and the configuration of the servers and everything was done from my end.
Super.
But
Okay.
it was
And
past
how about
4 years,
Ravi?
so I have
No,
somewhat
that's okay. I
lag
mean,
in the.
that's okay. That's okay. I mean, as long as you have that, knowledge, that's fine. I think that is enough. And Ravi, you also.
No. Coming to me, I don't have any this kind of experience. So since
Hmm.
last 5 years in the the same project, I'm working from this my support project only. Earlier, I'm
Hmm.
working as a Java developer, but
Okay.
completely nil knowledge as of now.
Okay. Okay.
But I'm aware that
So
what is IP address, what is so things. But you
what is
better go with the beginning part.
Yeah. So the reason why I'm asking is, if I understand what is your current exposure to this, then I can, start with the right, content in place, right? Otherwise, I might be teaching something which is above what you understand. Then there might be some synchronization problem, right? So that's the
Yes,
reason I'm
please think it as we are freshers, and for freshers, how you are training, just go as the same training. What the training will
okay.
give for a fresher.
No, that's fine. I mean, the requirement here is just to understand, what are the things you are aware. Okay. So, see
So you
this.
will go. One more question, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you will. You said like Azure administration. So you will be teaching Azure basics. AZ 900, or directly will jump into Azure administration part.
Okay, so in administration we cover even the basics part. Okay, so there is
Oh,
no special requirement for that 900. Okay, so we will cover anyway all those things that whatever we learn in the 900 as a part of this course itself. Okay, so what do you learn there? The basics of Azure, right? What regions you have, how many services you have, what are the different services you have, how do you access those services? So those things we will anyway cover here in the 104. Okay, so no need to get panic on that. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
So let me quickly take you through the content. So this today's discussion would be mostly on explaining you or taking you through the content, and I'll take you through some basics of cloud computing so that you can understand the mode of teaching and how things are delivered by the trainer. Okay. So in case if you're further interested, then we can go with the classes from there. Okay. So to quickly start with, as I said, this is an administration course. The initial discussion would be mostly on the cloud basics, right? So few of these things you might already be aware, but we'll touch base the things like what is a cloud and what are the different types of clouds you have, like public, private, and hybrid, and then what are the different cloud services like infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and we differentiate them, right? So it's not just understanding those services, which service we use when, and what are the advantage of using what service. In the sense, if I deploy a server versus using straight away an application, what are those advantages you get? What are the disadvantages you have? All those things we will be discussing here. Okay, and then you also understand benefits of cloud computing. At the end of the day, organizations adopt cloud to save some money or to save some effort or better security or better productivity of their resources, right? There could be n number of factors that which motivate the organizations to adopt cloud services, right? So those things we understand here. Okay. And then we'll straight away get into the Azure administration. Okay, so understanding of Azure, right? What Azure is, what are the different services which are available on Azure, right? There are hundreds of services like web apps or database services, virtual machines itself, firewalls, networking, load balancers, and then artificial intelligence, blockchain, IoTs, multiple solutions are there. So what we understand is what are the services which are provided by Azure, and where do I find what services are available in Azure. And they've got something called as marketplace, which is like a catalog where you find different services which are available on Azure cloud, and some of them also got cost and regions where it is available. So that understanding we will get, so that whenever we deploy any service, we'll get to an understanding that, okay, so this service is there and in this location I can deploy, in this location it is not. That level of understanding you get here. Okay. And then most of the cloud services, not necessarily Azure, even GCP or AWS, any service provider in the cloud arena, they have their presence across the different geographical locations, right? So they have data centers across the globe, right? Azure has got their data centers across the globe as well, right? So let me quickly show you that. Azure infrastructure. Right. So if you look at this diagram, right, you understand, the different areas where they have their presence. So we'll try to understand this in detail, like what regions and what is this diamond symbol which says availability zones, how is it different from a normal region, and we'll also get through, the different regions and try to understand how do we select the right region for us. Okay. So that understanding you'll get here when we talk about, regions, geographies, and then zones and other stuff. Okay. And the next discussion will be on subscriptions and resources. Okay. Subscriptions means billing. Okay. So whenever you use any resource on cloud, you have to pay for that, right? So that's what cloud is meant for, pay as you use, right? Whatever you use, for that you pay. Now, if there are multiple departments in your organization, you may have multiple subscriptions. You can compare subscription with a cost center, right? So there might be a cost center for multiple departments or multiple projects, right? So the same thing here. So you can compare a subscription with a cost center. So you can have multiple such subscriptions in your organization. So then you understand, how do I create multiple subscription? How do I understand the cost perspective for each subscription? How do I understand wastage and how do I get away from the waste? And you also set something called as policies to govern the things, right? So maybe you want to have only a couple of locations across the Azure geographies to be used, or you may want to allow only certain sizes of virtual machines to be used. So that all those things you can control using policies. Okay, so you understand these things here in the policies and subscriptions. Okay, and then you also got something called as role-based access control. We call it as RBAC. Okay, role-based access control. So this is basically giving permissions to your support teams. Okay, let us say you got 4 or 5 support teams. Some team may manage only the network part on Azure. Some people may manage only application part on Azure. Some people may manage the entire infrastructure. So based on their role, right? Maybe an L2, L3 administrator. So based on their role, we identify the teams and say that team performs these n number of tasks and you give permissions only to perform that task. So that's how you're controlling access to your resources, right? So that you call it as role-based access control. Based on the role, you provide the access. So this is basically for the support teams in the organization. So we understand how do we first structure our organization support teams, and then how do we identify what activities they do, and how do we provide permissions based on the activities they perform. So that level of scenarios we will be discussing here. And then comes your virtual machines. Okay, so virtual machines are basically nothing but servers you deploy on the Azure environment. Now here you understand what are the different operating systems you can deploy on Azure. Azure supports both Windows and Linux. Then we'll understand how do you deploy virtual machines. We'll understand different settings of a virtual machine. And we'll also understand something called as custom images. Now, what is this custom image, right? Let us try to understand. Now, custom image is nothing but an image with a preloaded application. Okay, let me give you an example. Let us say you got a project and that project requires, let us say, 50 web servers, and these web servers, let us say, need to be hosted on Windows 2019 operating system with IIS on it. IIS is nothing but a web application, right? Web application on Windows, you call it as IIS, Internet Information Services, and some customization. Maybe you will tweak your application settings to point to the right pages and some customization, that whatever you have to do. So this is your requirement of the project. So in an ideal situation, what you do? You deploy 50 servers, which means that 50 Windows 2019 servers, and then you install this IIS web application 50 times, right? You install this 50 times and you customize your application 50 times because you are deploying 50 servers. Now this is a tedious task for anyone for that matter, right? Now what if I have a solution? I install one Windows server and I install IIS application and then I customize it, and then what I do is I convert this entire server into something called as image. I am converting this into what? Image. And what will this image got? This image got an operating system with a web application that is customized for your requirement. Now using this image, what I extracted out of this virtual machine or server, I'll deploy my 50 servers. I'll deploy my 50 servers, right? I'll deploy all my 50 servers. Now here you are reducing the effort. Here you are reducing the effort. So that's what we learn here. How do we create such images and deploy your operating system using, or your application servers using that custom image? And these images has got limitation of availability only in that region. In the sense, if you created this image in a central US location, then this image will be available only for that geographical location. Maybe let us say your organization is spanned across multiple geographical locations across the world, then you may have to replicate this particular image to the other locations as well. So that's what you do in by using a solution called as shared image gallery, right, where you replicate your images across the regions. So here you understand what is an image, how do you create image, and how do you replicate your images across the different geographical locations of your Azure environment. And some additional tasks like how do you expand the disks, how do you add additional disks to this operating system, and all those things also you will learn here under this virtual machine concepts. And then comes your networking concepts. Okay, so networking plays a very crucial role when it comes to the administration. So what you learn in the networking part is, so have you heard about this VLANs anytime? A term called VLAN, Rama? Virtual LANs, VLANs?
No.
Okay. Okay, so VLAN or virtual LAN is, let us say you got your data center, okay, your on-premises data center. Okay, so on-premises, you understand the term called as data center, right? Data center is a place where you have all the servers hosted, right? Now what we do is, your network in a data center will be divided into something called as VLANs. What do we call it as? VLANs. VLAN stands for virtual LAN. Okay, it stands for virtual LANs. Right? Why do you need to create multiple virtual LANs? Dividing is nothing but segmenting. So we are segmenting our network into multiple VLANs. Let us say this is VLAN 1, VLAN 2, VLAN 3, and VLAN 4. So you create or you segment your network into VLANs to isolate one network from the other. Maybe let us say you have some production servers, you will put in VLAN 1. Maybe you have some development servers, you will put in VLAN 2. Maybe you got some training related infrastructure, you put in VLAN 3. Maybe you got some your end user desktops, you may put in VLAN 4. So each VLAN is isolated from the other. That's the reason the segmentation becomes very important. So in the real-time world, you don't want to mix up your production with your development, right? So that's how you divide your network into something called as virtual LANs. So this is on premises. This is in your physical location, right? The same thing you achieve on cloud by using something called as VNets. Virtual networks are VNets and subnets. So here what you understand is, how do you segment your network into different virtual networks? We'll understand what are the criteria, how do we assign the IP addresses, how many IP addresses we need to assign, all those things we will understand here. Okay, we'll understand those things here in the virtual networks and VNet peering. Okay. And there is something called as network security groups. Okay, so network security groups is nothing but it is a service which restricts traffic entering into your Azure network, or it allows. So let us say you hosted a web server on Azure. Let us say this is your web server, and people will access from the internet. So you need to write some rules, only the required traffic should hit this particular VM. So what you do, you go and write some rules saying that from this source to this destination on this protocol, on this port, then only allow the traffic. If it is a web server, then what traffic I will allow? HTTP, right? Or HTTPS. Only these two traffic I will allow, rest all the things I will block. So that level of control of traffic entering into your Azure network or leaving your Azure network can be done using network security groups. So it's basically securing your network infrastructure. So it works like a firewall, but it is not a firewall. Okay, there is a separate service like firewall, but it gives some of the features what your firewall gives you, where you can restrict the traffic entering into the network. And then you learn something called as route tables, which will help you to customize the traffic routing, and DNS. DNS, you guys might be already know this, domain naming service or domain naming system, which resolves a name to IP address or IP address to the name. For example, if you're accessing google.com, right? Let us say you're accessing google.com. How do you access it from your machine? You just say that www.google.com, right? That's what you put in your browser. But your system will not use the name to interact with your Google web server. What does it use? It uses IP address. Then how does this name is getting converted into an IP address? So that's what your DNS does. So DNS will help you to resolve a host name to IP address. For example, if I ping google.com, then I'm getting an IP address out here, right? When I ping, then how is that I'm getting an IP address? Because this machine goes to a server called as DNS server, asks him, boss, this guy Vijay is trying to ping google.com. Now help me with the IP address of that so that I can reach to that particular server. So then DNS server will respond back with the IP address, and that's where you are hitting the server with the IP address. So this is all backend activity, okay? So those services you can configure on Azure as well. So that's what you learn. How do you configure DNS service on Azure? Okay, so that's what is the DNS services you learn. And then there is something called as availability sets, fault domains, update domains. These are all high availability solutions, HA solutions. Maybe you are running a critical application on Azure cloud. You want that to be available 24/7, right? So these services will help you to make sure that your services are available 24/7 by giving 99.99% of availability SLA. Okay, so these are all very important for the critical applications of the organizations. So that's where you learn how do you secure your environment, how do you enable high availability of your resources. That's what you learn here in the availability sets, fault domains, update domains, and zones. And the next thing that what you learn is virtual machine scale set, which is auto scaling feature, very useful one, very interesting one as well. So let me quickly explain you what auto scaling is, okay, so that you guys understand this. Let us say your organization, they are into retail business. Let us say they are into retail business, like maybe Flipkart or Amazon or whatever, retail business. Okay. Now, how does the customers place online orders? They use some site, right? They use site. Let us say they use a site www.amazon.com or amazon.in, right? Amazon.in, some name. Okay. Now, when users hit this application, right? So this all users will access, but this application at the back end will sit on a server, web server, correct? And there will be a huge list of web servers. It's not one web server. There is a cluster of web servers. We call this as cluster of web servers, a pool of web servers. Because these are all individual instances, your end user cannot access them individually, right? They cannot access them individually. So then what you have here in front of this, there will be one more device, which is called as load balancer. In front of this, there is one more device, which is called as load balancer. So your end user, if they are hitting Amazon.com, where is that goes? It goes to your load balancer. This load balancer understands the load of the backend instances and redirects the traffic to one of the backend instances based on the current utilization or whatsoever. Okay, so that's how the solution works. Let us say there is a sale that which is on. There is a sale. Okay, so there is a sale. During the sale, you don't know how many people will access the website. Maybe one of the parameters that which you may use is last year's utilization. Last year during the sale we had 20 servers. Let us go and put 20 servers. Those are the decisions that like that we'll take, right? But this is not a good way of doing things. What if we understand the utilization of these current servers? Maybe monitor some metrics like CPU utilization, memory utilization, number of hits to the websites. Those parameters can be monitored, right? Once you monitor those parameters, based on the threshold of that parameter, you can go and add additional instances whenever there is a lot of load, remove some instances whenever there is no need. So what does this auto scaling does is it helps you with increasing of your instances whenever there is too much load on the application and decreasing the number of instances whenever there is less load on the applications. And how is this getting done? You monitor the utilization of the current instances. You write a rule saying that, okay, so if the CPU utilization is 80%, then add additional 2 instances. If the CPU utilization is 30%, remove 4 instances from the existing pool. So all these things are now automated. So that's what you attain using this auto scaling solution. And as I said, for this auto scaling, you should have a front end that is called as load balancer. So that's what you learn here, right? So you understand virtual machine scales or auto scaling, and then you understand the devices which will be in front of your virtual machine scale set. That can be a load balancer, application gateway, front door, or whatsoever. So those are the 3 services that can be in front of your virtual machine scale set here. They can be here. So we understand that how do you configure and all those things. And then firewalls, you know what firewall is and other stuff. And traffic manager, content delivery network, site to site and point to site. Site to site is nothing but, let me explain you that one at a very high level. Let us say you already got a data center. Maybe your organization is working in Hyderabad. In Hyderabad, you got a data center with all your organization servers. Right? In data centers, you'll have servers, right? So all your applications run in this data center. Now you decided to adopt cloud services, which means that you are adopting Azure Cloud. Right? You are adopting Azure Cloud. And let us say you move some of the applications to Azure. Let us say you move few applications to Azure. Now there are some applications which are running on premises. Whenever I say on-prem, it is your data center. There are some applications which are running on cloud. And I assume that these two need to communicate with each other. Some application on premises has to talk to an application server on Azure Cloud, which means you need an integration, you need a network connectivity between your data centers in Hyderabad and your cloud services. How do I configure this? That's what you learn here in site to site, VNet to VNet, point to site, and express route. So these are all your networking integration solutions. Okay, so that's what you learn here. And then you also learn about storage services on Azure. Then what are the different storage solutions you have? How do I keep data? How do I synchronize my file servers to Azure storage? All those things we learn here. Okay, and then you learn about PowerShell and Azure CLI. So most of the times, initially what we do is we use this portal to deploy, manage, and troubleshoot things. But if it is a one or two things that which you deploy on Azure, it's good to use this portal. But let us take you are deploying some hundreds of application servers, or maybe you have to do a bulk configuration change. So it's very tough for you to use this GUI and say next n number of times. So that's where Azure provides you some command line interfaces using which you can deploy, manage, and maintain the environment. So you can use either PowerShell, or there is another tool called as Azure CLI. These two we will be learning. So whatever the things you deploy here using portal, we will also learn how do you deploy them using the PowerShell and Azure CLI. And you can also write some templates in a language called as JSON. Okay, I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this JSON, but it's a language. Okay, JavaScript object notation, JSON. So we will be writing some lines of code and use the JSON code to deploy the environment as well. So that we call it as ARM templates, Azure Resource Manager templates. Okay, so that also. So these two are deploying the things using some command line interfaces or some code. That's what you learn here. And then how do you take backup of the environments, right? It could be servers backup, it could be a file share backup. And how do you enable DR? DR is nothing but disaster recovery, right? Business continuity and disaster recovery, BCDR we call it as, right? So here we learn those things. And there is something called as web apps, containers, and then Kubernetes. These are all serverless concepts that also we learn. And authentication and authorization. So whenever you access any application, you need to authenticate using the user ID and password. And then how do we enable authentication services on Azure? Sometimes you may use your on-premises Active Directory domain services. You can synchronize the user IDs in Active Directory to Azure Cloud. And how do I enable multi-factor authentication? Sometimes some of the applications requires more than one type of authentication, right? So some application may need username and maybe your secure RSA ID. Or sometimes some applications may need username, password, and an OTP sent to your email, or an OTP sent to your mobile number. So you learn how do you configure all those things here. Okay, so on Azure Cloud, you have something called as multi-factor authentication, where you can have more than one authentication types integrated to your application. And then there is something called as single sign-on and self-service password reset, where you will be resetting your own passwords rather calling the service desk and asking them to reset the password. You can set up some questions, right? And whenever you forgot the password, then you will be answering those questions whatever you set. And then you reset your password on your own, which means that you are reducing the calls to your service desk, right? So how do I set up that configuration on Azure Cloud so that my users can reset their passwords on their own, right? So all those things you learn here in the Azure Active Directory implementation. And then finally, you learn about monitoring and troubleshooting. So how do I monitor my Azure environment, right? So how do I troubleshoot environment? What are the different options I have in case I am not able to fix the problem? So all those things you will be learning here. Okay. So this is the course content at a very high level. Okay. And the overall course duration is 40 hours. The overall course duration is 40 hours. So now, based on how many hours we are going to spend per day, will define how many working days it is required for us to complete the course. Okay. And the second part is material. Material. Okay, so the material part. So I will be sharing the recorded videos. You will be getting all the videos, whatever are recorded. You will get manuals, and you'll get few documents which will help you to prepare yourself for the interviews. And I'll also will be sharing you frequently asked interview questions. And the next part is lab. Okay, so lab part. So lab, Azure provides you a 30 days free trial subscription, which means that you can use the free trial subscription for 30 days for your practice. So which is enough for us for the 40 hours that whatever we are talking. So that should be enough for us for practicing. Okay, because you guys know each other. What I suggest is let one of you subscribe first, use first 30 days, and then once the 30 days period is over, the other person can subscribe. So likewise, you can access till 60 days your labs, and you can practice it for 60 days. Okay. Now, in order to subscribe to the lab, you need a PAN card, you need a mobile number, email address, and a credit card for validation purpose. So Azure is not going to deduct any amount out of that, but it's only for validation purpose. Okay, so that is the lab. Okay, what else? I think this is the course content, and this is the number of hours and materials and the lab part. Okay. So if you got any questions, you can ask.
So you will be so this is the overall the course content, right?
Yes, this is the course content. Yes, course content. Correct.
So you will be going in brief while discussing the each one by one session.
Yes, it will be in detailed discussion. Every topic you will understand what that service is. Okay, and you'll understand different components of that service, and then we'll try to relate with a use case, and then we deploy and show you practically the use case, right? So that's how each and every topic we will go through, except one topic, which is express route. Here we will be discussing only theory part because it requires some additional configuration, which we will not be able to do it in our labs. Otherwise, all these concepts, whatever we just gone through, will be shown with real-time scenarios. And by the end of the course, you will also be doing one or two small exercises integrating all these services that which you learn. That's how you come across, that's how you know how do you integrate all these individual components to prepare a complete solution, right?
So daily what will be the class timing? Only
So
this is
that
the same time.
no, that Hemant will get back to you. My job is only to train you and to give a demonstration. So that's what I am. So anything related to the timings and fees and other stuff, you get in touch with the institute. They will help you with all those. Anything related to the training, anything related to the content, and you can ask me. Okay. So fees, timings, everything will be managed by the institute.
Okay, Vijay.
So you guys got any questions, then you can ask.
Yeah, we got the overview. Going into deep, we may get the questions, if anything.
Yeah. So what we can do is, I mean, we can go for a couple of classes, then you'll understand the teaching mode and other stuff. Then and take a call. Okay? So I'm not sure how these guys will work. Maybe Hemant will help you how things will be about the payment and other stuff. But I'm comfortable with whatever you guys feel. Okay. Right. So I'll stop here. I got a class at 8 o'clock, so I have to jump into the other class. I just got 10 minutes. Okay.
Okay.
Can you share this recording also, Vijay?
Yeah, recording will be shared by Institute. They will help you with the recording part. Okay. Yeah. Get in
So
touch.
if any doubts in the middle, we may ask the doubts in our own language. I mean, in Telugu also, please don't mind.
I don't have any problem. మీరు తెలుగులో చెప్పమంటే మొత్తం తెలుగులో చెప్తా. నాకేం ప్రాబ్లం లేదు.
అది ఇంకా బెటర్ సార్ మాకు.
So I am comfortable with that. Problem లేదు.
ఎందుకంటే యా
చెప్పండి
ఓకే.
చెప్పండి.
అదే ఇంకా అంటే ఇంగ్లీష్ దాంట్లో అర్థం చేస్తాను కదా, తెలుగులో మీన్ మనం క్లాస్ చెప్పుకుంటే ఇంకా ఈజీగా మనకు అర్థం అవుద్ది అనేది అది.
నాకే ఇబ్బంది లేదమ్మా, మీరు ఎలా అంటే అలా. I don't have any problem as such.
What you say, Rama?
It's fine in any language. Okay.
Okay, Sandeep.
Vijay.
Sorry, Vijay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, guys, then make a decision. If interested, we will touch base once again. Thank you. Thanks for joining. Good night. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Vijay.